What if the most famous sentence ever written was also a secret mathematical code? That's the absolutely wild claim we're exploring today, a theory that says the very first verse of the Bible isn't just scripture, it's a geometric blueprint. Let's dive in.
Really think about that for a second. What if, hidden in plain sight for thousands of years, the opening of Genesis was intentionally designed as a key to a much, much larger system of meaning?
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the verse itself. Then, we'll decode the core numbers at its heart. From there, we'll see how these numbers supposedly transform into sacred shapes, and how that geometry is said to connect to Christian theology. Finally, we'll see how these patterns just keep expanding and ask the big question: what does it all mean?
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Section 1 is all about the protoverse. That's the name that proponents of this theory give to the foundational text at the heart of this entire system.
In the beginning, right? We all know these words. It's arguably the most famous sentence in human history. But according to this theory, that simple, familiar surface is hiding an incredible, almost unbelievable layer of complexity.
And look, the people who came up with this are not making small claims. They describe this single verse as multi-super-engineered. The core idea here is that this isn't just literature, it's a piece of divine mathematical engineering.
All right, so how in the world do you even begin to unlock a code like this? Well, to understand the theory, you first have to understand the ancient tool they're using to decipher.
And that tool is called gematria. It's an old practice, super common in languages like ancient Hebrew and Greek, where the letters of the alphabet also doubled as their numbers. It's pretty simple. You assign a number to each letter, and from there, you can calculate the numerical value of any word or even a whole sentence.
So what happens when you take that gematria system and apply it to the original Hebrew text of Genesis 1:1? You get this number, 2701. According to the theory, everything, and I mean everything, is built on this one number. It's the cornerstone of the whole system.
But 2701 is just the starting point. When you break it down into its prime factors, the prime numbers that multiply together to create it, you get only two, 37 and 73. The theory argues these are not random numbers. They're the fundamental building blocks, the DNA of this hidden code.
Now this brings us to Section 3, and this is where things get really visual, and frankly, a little wild. The theory makes a huge leap from simple numbers into the world of geometry.
You see, the theory claims that 2701 isn't just a number, it's what's known as a triangular number. What does that mean? It means you can take exactly 2,701 little dots, or counters, and arrange them into a perfect equilateral triangle, one that has 73 dots on each side. This geometric property is totally crucial for what comes next.
And here is the first big aha moment for the theory. So the entire verse, with its value of 2701, forms that big triangle. But get this, if you take the gematria value of just the last two Hebrew words, which translate to "and the earth," you get the number 703. And guess what? 703 also forms a perfect triangle, the 37th one. The really incredible claim here is that this smaller triangle, representing just a piece of the verse, fits perfectly inside the larger one representing the whole verse.
But that geometric trick? That's just the warm-up act. Now we get to the theory's main event, its central theological claim, which tries to link this Old Testament verse directly to the New Testament.
So, using that same gematria system, but this time with Greek, the theory points to the numerical values for the names and titles of Jesus Christ. And you're going to want to keep these numbers in your head: 888 for Jesus and 2368 for the full title, Jesus Christ.
Because it turns out that 2701 isn't just a triangular number. It can also be arranged into a perfect hexagon. And the theory goes that while the triangle shows a kind of internal structure, this hexagon reveals a theological message, connecting it all the way to the New Testament. So let's break down this hexagon. Imagine it's made of 2,701 dots. The theory claims that if you remove the dots that form the three main lines crossing through the center, the axes you see here, the number of dots that are left over is exactly 2,368. And that, of course, is the precise gematria value for Jesus Christ in Greek. But it gets weirder. The very center of the hexagon, it adds up to 703, the value for "and the earth," the exact same number from our smaller triangle.
So now we get to Section 5, because the theory doesn't just stop with one triangle and one hexagon. No, it argues that these patterns are absolutely everywhere, creating a whole universe of interconnected mathematics. The rabbit hole goes way deeper.
It even has a take on the infamous number 666. The theory claims that within all these geometric shapes,
the number 666 pops up over and over again as a structural link, or a boundary. So they suggest it doesn't represent evil at all, but instead acts as a kind of mathematical bridge between the heavenly and earthly parts of the verse.
And the alleged patterns just keep coming. Those core numbers, 37 and 73, are also what's known as star numbers, meaning they can be arranged into geometric stars of David. The theory also finds patterns in 12-sided shapes that align with these numbers. It even extends the whole system to English, claiming the gematria value of Jesus Christ in English fits perfectly into these same grids.
And then it gets even more complex. The theory claims these basic shapes combine to form these just stunningly intricate fractals. What you're looking at here is called the star of stars of stars, a pattern that is supposedly derived directly from the mathematical properties of those two original prime numbers, 37 and 73.
So, where does all this leave us? Let's go to our final section and try to frame the ultimate question this whole theory is posing.
When you put all these claims together, what you have is a theory that presents Genesis 1:1 as this giant, elaborate rebus puzzle. You know, a picture puzzle where numbers and shapes are the clues, and the proposed solution to this puzzle is that a single divine author wove all of this mathematics and theology together thousands of years before the events they supposedly point to.
And that leaves us with the big question. Is this all evidence of an ancient blueprint, a divinely authored code hidden in the scriptures for millennia? Or is it just an incredibly elaborate and fascinating tapestry of patterns and human confirmation bias? That's the puzzle this theory leaves us all to think about. Thanks for watching.